Douglas Holtz-Eakin joins us now. He is still confident a deal will get done in Washington. He has poured through both the Boehner and the Reid proposals. Doug says the Boehner plan gets a strong B+, while Harry Reid's plan gets a gentleman's C at best. Doug is the president of the American Action Forum. He is also, or was the CBO director under President George W. Bush. He was the chief economist of the Council of Economic Advisors under George W. Bush. And you could understand, Doug, why people would think that you're a little bit more inclined to like the Boehner position rather than the Reid position. So, but why do you give him a B+, whereas Reid only gets a C?
Well, in the end, I think you have to judge these proposals by the degree to which they address the problem, which is spending, and neither is perfect. I would have much preferred plans that had real changes to discretionary spending in the near term, commitments to caps in the medium term, and changes to entitlement programs that actually control the growth over a longer term. We're not going to see that. So the Boehner plan contains two of those things, some discretionary cuts and caps, and then a commitment to a so-called super committee to deal with entitlements. The Reid plan has all of those things as well, plus what I think of as some largely fictitious cuts and a bigger increase in the debt ceiling. I don't think we have a place for fiction in this game. It's important that we deal with the underlying growth in the debt. And so I prefer plans that are closer to reality than fictional.
Doug, speaking of fiction, right now what's going on in the Republican Party looks a lot like a novel. There's so much infighting. Boehner is dealing with this open rebellion. Is this going to get resolved? You know D.C. well.
Yeah, I think so. The one thing that has been uniform throughout has been that all of the leadership, House, Senate, White House, Republican, Democrat, has been committed to increasing the debt ceiling in a timely fashion. That has been a constant. It remains a top priority. It is always difficult to raise the debt ceiling. That's typically an exercise that's characterized by finger-pointing and partisanship and brinksmanship. And this one is accompanied by some serious differences in the direction of the underlying policy. So the politics of this are quite difficult, but I do expect it to get done, and I expect it to happen in time for the August 2nd deadline.
What are the fictitious cuts, Doug, that you're seeing in the Reid plan? Because a lot of people have already brought this $1 trillion that's supposed to pay for or be cut by the winding down of the wars, although obviously if the wars continue, we're going to keep paying it, and if we wind it down, we're not going to pay it anyway. So what are you talking about the Reid plan?
I think the wars are the leading example of that. I think the biggest difficulty is to commit to large out-year cuts in discretionary spending and have them appear to be real. And both plans rely heavily on that, but the more you rely on that, particularly in the face of a policy which goes in the other direction, the less compelling it seems to me.
Doug, question here. All these plans are being compared to the CBO's baseline, which I believe includes the scheduled end of the Bush-era tax cuts starting in 2013. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
So if we're talking let's say a $2 trillion savings over the next 10 years relative to that baseline, if the baseline is different and that tax law change doesn't occur and we preserve the current law for the next decade, what would say a $2 trillion cut translate into?
It will still be a $2 trillion cut. One feature of these plans is they're exclusively on the spending side. So to the extent that they commit in law to spending cuts and they actually occur, you still get the reduction. The fact is the deficit and debt will be higher than the CBO is projecting because of that.
So, but there are no revenue increases in either one of them. Do you think that's an important point, Doug?
I think it's both an important point and to my eye, the right way to go. Regardless of your partisan view of the progressivity of the tax code and things like that, the one thing that Congress has never done on a consistent basis is rein in spending programs. We've seen it raise taxes. We've never seen it do what is now a necessity that be done. And so I would like to see this Congress and successor Congresses learn how to deal with these spending problems.
So you don't think they should broaden the base? You don't think we should get rid of loopholes and have more people paying in? I mean, doesn't it seem like the right time? Why waste a good crisis?
I think the lesson of Bowles-Simpson, which is these are recommendations that came out of a bipartisan commission that was populated by sitting members of Congress, so it's an important benchmark. The lesson of that is if you want to talk about the revenue side, you have to do tax reform. I think that's absolutely right and imperative. Tax reform takes a long time. And my view is probably we'll get it done in 2013 at the earliest. We should certainly make a full-scale effort to do that. But as a matter of just beginning as you mean to go on, I think Congress needs to learn to rein in spending, and so they should begin right there.
All right, hey, Doug, thanks so much for joining us. Doug Holtz-Eakin there, president of the American Action Forum.